What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me. Happy Friday. I hope your weekend is off to a great start. We're going to be doing live tarot readings here on the channel. So if you're just joining me, what's going on? How's your Friday going? I'll give everybody a little bit of time for people to shuffle in. We're going to be doing tarot readings by donation. So we're doing 1 and 3 card spreads. There's information that's going across the banner below, but there's also a QR code up here, so you can scan that. It'll take you to my PayPal. In the memo, please put your specific question. $20 donation for 1 card and $40 for a 3-card spread. Or you can join my memberships and you can get a reading once a month with me. We're here every Friday, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, doing tarot or astrology readings. So if you are a level 3 member and you want to join and get a reading for the month, this is the 3rd week of November, so we still got another week to come. How's it going? We take PayPal through the super chat as well, so however you guys want to do the payment, you can. Hey Clarissa, well, let me know. We're going to be doing astrology next week, so I can give you a credit if you want to come back. Although I know a lot of people are going to be celebrating because it's going to be around the holidays, so that'll make for a fun show. Okay, so I'll give you guys the rundown of who I already have. So if you're new, basically you sign up, you get in the queue, you make your donation, put in your question. Let me know if your name differs on YouTube versus on PayPal. And I'm going to go through the list and I'll let you guys know when your reading slot is coming up. You can ask me whatever question you want, and then I'll be pulling cards live, giving you your reading. And if you can see me, please hit the like button, give me a thumbs up. It lets other people know that we're live on the channel. And it's so funny, we see people who are like coming in all different time zones. So we'll see people all over the world that are like, I caught it. And I will let you guys know who I've got, okay? So this is who I've got already in the queue. Here's a number of you guys, huh? Okay, so we've got Amanda R, DCJ, Felicia, Ruby, Victoria, Jamie, Jessica. Then we've got Kristen, Anne, and Andrea. So if you heard your name, I've got you already. All right, Clarissa, you let me know if you want me to do that tarot reading. I'm happy to do it for you. We'll usually leave the queue open for a little bit, probably like a half an hour or so. You guys can watch the readings and decide if you want to jump in. Also, if you know that there's somebody who would want to get a reading, send them the link. Okay, sharing is caring. So I know there's a lot of people who are like frazzled because of the Sun, Mercury, Mars stuff that's going on. How are you guys feeling with the Mars conjunction and this new Mercury ingress and Mercury square and a bunch of stuff? Are you guys just as frazzled as I am? Okay, so before we even get into the readings, I just want to give you guys a heads up because I'm probably going to forget towards the end, so I'm going to do the shameless plugs now. There's a bunch of new stuff that we're going to be doing on my website. We're doing big sales on all of my courses. So if you want to learn tarot, if you want to learn astrology, I have all kinds of courses on my website. On Cyber Monday and Black Friday this next coming week, we're doing a big sale. So head over to my website, sign up for my newsletter. My website's beyondtheveiltarot.com. I'm not going to spam you. You're just going to get an email that's going to show you all the stuff. So if you've been wanting to pick up one of my 2024 calendars that we just dropped, the astrology calendars, we also have new moon prints like the one that's behind me that we created specifically for next year, and much more. So everything's going to be on sale, the calendars, the products, all of the courses. I'm also going to be dropping a brand new 2024 basically New Year's Day ticket. So we're going to do our usual New Year's Day live show. We're going to be promoting basically all the way up until that point. But those of you guys who get in on the Black Friday sale, you're going to get a ticket to my live show on New Year's Day. So you can join live for the recording, or you can come back and you can watch it. And it's $5. So it's going to be several hours long. We're going to talk all about the astrology of 2024. So make sure you guys go and sign up for my newsletter, catch all that stuff that's going to be coming out this week. We're going to have everything that's going to be on special. So if you guys have been wanting to get a reading for your birthday or for Christmas or New Year's or whatever, we have gift cards and we're going to do all kinds of sales on the readings too. So I'm really excited for that. All right. Thank you for letting me do the shameless plug. All right. So let's go ahead and get into these readings. I had my birthday this last week. So I got a new deck that I want to test drive. You guys want to try that tonight? Let's see. David, my dad's somewhere in the chat. He's always quick to tell you that he's here. This is hilarious. You guys will like this. I got these, I think, is it Zenar? Have you guys seen these cards? You know, like these psychic cards? So you like hold them up. Well, you don't hold them up. You put them flat on the table and then you have to kind of like try to perceive what image is underneath, and then you flip them over and then you see like what your accuracy is. So this is hilarious. I always get a couple decks for my birthday, but this one was really cool. My dad sent me this. And then I got this deck, which I've been wanting to get for some time now, the Pulp Tarot. It's really cool and kind of like vintagey. So let's test drive that and let's see. This is really the first time I've read with it. I took a look at it, but I haven't gotten a chance to use it. One day I'll do an unboxing video. I should probably do those. I have so many decks. I think the last time I counted, I have somewhere like around like 60 something decks. So one day you guys will get to see that video. Until then, I will continue to keep collecting them and sharing them with other people too. All right, so this is going to be doing a test drive of the Pulp Tarot. Thank you guys for your birthday wishes. Appreciate it. Another year around the sun. All right, so we're going to start with Amanda. What's up, Kimmy? Hey, Sonia. Hey, Kristen. Who else is here? Jamie, Danielle, Sasha. Intuitive Enlightenment. How's it going? Maya. MJ, I don't want to miss anybody. Victoria, Jamie. All right, so we're going to start with Amanda, and then DC and Felicia, you guys are on deck. Okay? Katie says, you look good in black. Thank you. I got matching hoodies for my anniversary with my husband. It was our anniversary also. Birthday on the 11th, anniversary on the 13th. You know what that means? 2 gifts. It was our cotton anniversary, so I made us matching hoodies. All right, so we've got Amanda who says, please give me any special messages Spirit has for me regarding love. I am just in the very early stages of talking with a Pisces Sun, Gemini Moon. Any insights would be appreciated. By the way, I'm all Earth, Cap Sun, Virgo Rising, Taurus Moon. Thank you. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see here. You have to love a new deck, right? You gotta love a new deck. So let's see what we can tell Amanda about what's going on with her love life. She just met this new Pisces Gemini combo. That's fun if you got a lot of Earth in your chart. Keeps things moving. Okay, so it's going to be in this order. So we've got 5 of Swords, 9 of Swords, Ace of Cups. Interesting combination. You know, I think about the 5 of Swords in the past position of maybe kind of feeling like there's been situations in the past where you were maybe excited or anticipating that there was going to be an opportunity to move forward in relationships, and you were in the talking phases, and maybe you just felt like it just didn't take off, or you weren't connecting very well with people. Communication issues, timing issues, but also the stress. Like when I think of stress cards, I think of like 5 of Swords, 9 of Swords, the stress revolving around the beginning phases of like either getting back into dating, meeting somebody, putting yourself out there, like all of the questions of, you know, how's it going to go? How's it going to pan out? 5 of Swords is in the past, so if you feel like you haven't been making those connections, there's been miscommunications, misunderstandings, or there's been stress revolving around the idea of vulnerability in dating, then you move on to the 9 of Swords. Now, the 9 of Swords is a funny card because sometimes I've seen this card come up when people are stressing out over something they have no control over. Generally, that's the theme. But it can be worry, concern, anxiety, things that are keeping you up at night. And so I always laugh when I see the Nine of Swords and the Ace of Cups come up together, because it can mean that like you're stressing out, questioning, or wondering whether or not it's going to go somewhere, or whether or not they feel the same way. Or if you guys are on the same page, only to find out like, oh, okay, that was just like butterflies, or that was like stress or anxiety, you know, about kind of being vulnerable. In the current position, I feel like this is about right now how you're approaching, you know, the potential new love or relationship, and like not looking at things negatively. I'm not picking apart your comment, but, you know, give me any special messages. Are you feeling like you're blocked from being able to read the situation? Are you feeling like it's hard to read this person? Is there a sense of you having some kind of fear about vulnerability or being hurt again? You know, I would say right now it's about not moving forward assuming that the worst case scenario is going to happen, right? Which can be challenging, especially if you got a lot of earth in your chart. There can be a sense of being like, okay, I'm very literal and to the point and direct and like very, you know, down to earth. I mean, earth, that's what earth does. So having a Virgo rising, I think about how, you know, Saturn's in your 7th house. And so there can be a sense of being a little guarded or cautious when it comes to approaching relationships, or maybe realizing that not all relationships that come through with the Saturn cycle is going to stick. But I also think about how, you know, you have, you know, Jupiter and Uranus that are going to be meeting in the spring next year. And so it can be really positive for moving forward with a relationship, ceremonies, traveling, you know, lots of connections with another person, because Jupiter traditionally rules your 7th. So in my mind, I look at like the stressed out 5 of Swords with where you've been and what didn't work, and like where there was misunderstandings in love. The 9 of Swords in the right now, which could be stressing out and worrying about things that quite frankly may not matter. Or it can be things that you're allowing to kind of freak yourself out or psych yourself out to kind of come up, and creating doubt, which could inhibit you from really being present with the process. And then the Ace of Cups, that's a cool Ace of Cups card, which is basically saying that there is an offer or an opportunity that's being presented to you. When somebody's like saying like, am I going to meet somebody, or I've met somebody, what do you think is going to happen? You know, the Ace of Cups talks about that beginning process. The aces initiate a new start. So the cups are about emotions, love, relationships, right? It's about connection and vulnerability. So to me, it's kind of feeling like, don't be so concerned about what's not worked in the past or about what could go wrong. Remain open. Because the Ace of Cups is kind of like a flower. So it's about opening and being open to receive. And obviously the hand is offering you the chalice. So it's saying, you know, do you want to start new? Maybe this is about turning over a new leaf in relationships. Maybe that means there's new lessons within this relationship. I do feel like this is kind of indicating that it's very likely that there is going to be a continuation of like connecting with this person. And you want to think of aces as like a seed. You're planting it and you have to water it and watch it grow. Eventually, when it turns into a 10, then it's like the happily ever after. Sometimes this talks about like water months. So, you know, right now we're obviously in Scorpio season or nearing the end. The way that I read tarot, I see the springtime actually kind of associated with wands, and the summertime is more kind of cups. So I kind of feel like this can be talking about a cycle that's going to go between now and next summer before it really kind of, you know, unfolds. It means that also this can be a beautiful new beginning to a relationship, especially if you feel like you've had some kind of false starts or some challenges in the past. So be more focused on what's going to work out. You know, I kind of find myself sometimes when I get stressed out about something, I'll try to like stop myself and be like, but what if it does work? Like, what if it doesn't fall apart type of like vibe? So just some food for thought. I would definitely recommend trying to be more open and optimistic about what's kind of coming. And I do think that there's like a major like love potential here with that Ace of Cups being in the final card. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, so we're going to do DCJ. And then we'll have Felicia and Ruby. DCJ says current relationship and love, status of home and living situation. If I should travel for the thanking holiday, is where I need clarity. Couldn't do it without you. Totally changed my life. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So let's take a look and see what comes up in regards to like love life and traveling. Cancer Sun, Leo rising, Aquarius moon. Well, I think about the Sun Mars conjunction in the 4th house and wanting out of the house, right? You'll hear me talk about this in my astro weather, but does that mean that you have to move or have to be on the move? Not necessarily, but let's see. Join the chat live and laugh at Candace's dad jokes. All right, so let's take a look. Any relationship, home stuff, and is traveling on the future agenda? Are you a guest that brings Thanksgiving goodies? All right, we've got Temperance, 8 of Cups, and the Fool. You know, I kind of feel like, in a nutshell, this to me seems like this is about you making a decision to do something different than what you usually do for the holidays. So you have to kind of take that interpret that how you will. But the Fool card in the final position is breaking free with tradition, doing your own thing, being independent. This is also about going somewhere and doing something, okay? So temperance coming up in the current position is about balance and timing. It's interesting. This is a card that also has associations with Sagittarius. It can be about weighing your options and trying to figure out, you know, which is the best option. I think that the Temperance card is also talking about like not jumping into something and doing something too quickly. And then I think about how, you know, you have the 8 of Cups coming up, which is talking about like leaving a situation behind. So it might mean that you're kind of debating and going back and forth. Do we do this? Do we not do this? Do we do this? And then eventually you're like, we're going to do something different. So it might mean that you kind of come to making a decision and then, you know, you think you're going to go right and you go left. The Temperance and the Fool card are both major arcana cards also. So I think with this kind of coming up, it also seems to kind of indicate that maybe you're in a situation where you're like, okay, if I hold out too long, I'm going to miss my opportunity to do what I want to do. So I'm just going to go in that direction anyway. Okay, no boyfriend's family across the country in New York. We're taking space after a fight. Okay, so here's the thing, right? When I think about how, you know, you have the Sun Mars stuff that's in your 4th house and that there's going to be some squares that's going to be taking place, you know, still to Saturn. Saturn is the traditional ruler of your 7th house. So much of the Leo rising horoscope is about being able to do your own thing and then coming together with a partner. So if you're not with your partner right now, Temperance can be about basically being like, let this cool out a little bit, give it some space, because Temperance is about letting everything level out. And then 8 of Cups is about being like, okay, I'm walking away from a situation or I'm going to let a situation be. This would not be a situation where I would sit with this and go, okay, well, whether or not, you know, they decide to spend the holidays with me, that's going to make a big, you know, determination for the future of the relationship. No. I think the Fool card being in the final position is being like, go and do something, you know, either independently or maybe, you know, try to get away for a little bit, do something on your own, something that might be out of the norm. So you can kind of break up your schedule a little bit and maybe process or deal with whatever is going on right now a little bit better. The 8 of Cups can be talking about walking away from a situation and being like, I'm not going to continue to fight with this person, or I'm not going to continue to have strife. I'm not going to feel like I'm in a situation where I'm forced to make a decision. I'm just going to let this be. And what I like about the Fool card is that it's basically saying like it's meant to kind of keep things adventurous. So I don't necessarily recommend staying home and doing nothing either. Even if you go out for the day or you go out for the evening or you do some quick turnaround trip and then you return, it is supposed to be about you doing something more independent. You know, being that you're going to have a Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, it's going to start in Capricorn and go into Sagittarius. Many Cancers are going to have the opportunity to kind of remedy and reconcile, you know, relationship issues in December. So I feel like this can be a nice time where both of you guys can kind of like chill a little bit and not create more of a problem than what needs to be. And maybe going and getting a little bit of time away or doing something different out of your routine is just what you need, because the Fool card is about what's like liberating. So it's supposed to help you like break out of a situation, right? And you got a lot of other transits to go, my dear. So if you're a Leo rising and you got Aquarius on the descendant, you know, Pluto's coming into the 7th house, you're going to see a stellium of planets there in the new year. There's still a lot of like relationship stuff that's getting worked out. And those Scorpio risings are kind of spicy right now because essentially you've got the Sun and Mars in the 1st house. So it's kind of like get out of their way or leave them alone. Otherwise, there's going to be a little bit of like a temper because they're super, super self-focused right now. So some of them do need a little bit of space. After all, you know, that conjunction is in opposition to Uranus. So Uranus in a way is almost sometimes creating more stress than what needs to, you know, be kind of going down with the Sun and Mars. If you give them a little bit of time, you know, they'll come around. I don't necessarily see this as the relationship ending. I actually really feel like the 8 of Cups is about taking time apart and reflecting on things and then deciding what you guys both want. Like, it almost seems as if you're able to do this, it's going to give you an opportunity to really think about whether or not this is the relationship that you necessarily want. And, you know, if you guys moved in together and you're in the process right now of being like, oh, this is intense. I mean, like, yeah, but this is a, in a way, it's a passing transit, as much as I hate to like simplify that as so, because a conjunction is only for a couple of days, but it reverberates out. So it's opposing, you know, Jupiter and Uranus. And next year, you're going to see Jupiter and Uranus come into conjunction, which actually means for a lot of like Scorpio rising charts, really, it's like, you know, light speed into the future of developing a relationship very quickly. So you may see some Scorpio risings right now that are extremely resistant, and they're basically kind of like, nope, leave me alone, let me do my thing. And they feel like partnerships are, you know, creating some limitations. So if you give them that space right now until the Mars and the Sun separation, you know, works itself out, and then you allow time in December to kind of hash this out, it might be like a little bit of like a better time. But yeah, I'm not really feeling like Thanksgiving together. Like Temperance is cool out, 8 of Cups is give each other the space, and then the Fool card is really about being like, okay, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, you're gonna do what you're gonna do. Obviously you're in a relationship and you live together, but like, you know, so really this is the only way. You cannot corral a Scorpio rising. I cannot say that enough. You just can't do it, especially right now. So if you give them the space, then they'll be able to kind of come back around. And I feel like the Fool card is very much about you being like Uranus, right? The Fool is connected to Uranus. So it's kind of just being like, okay, cool, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And like, I'm not saying, this is going to sound terrible, like you almost have to completely detach, and then Scorpio risings will be like, what's wrong? Like that's what they'll do. When you're just like, okay, I'm done. And you don't even have to say that, just detach. They'll be like, what's wrong? They'll be trying to figure out what's going on because they'll be able to tell. So I'm not saying play games, but give them the space and find something you can do so you can process this and really decide if this is what you want to do. Because it's a completely different ballgame once you guys live together. And Scorpio risings they're very fixed in their ways. They don't like to change. And they have issues with people sometimes having too much closeness with them. You know, and Pluto's going into their 4th house. So there is a dramatic change happening on the home front for all Scorpio risings, Scorpio suns too. And so what they're going to learn is that through a positive, optimistic partner, Jupiter, Uranus, and be talking about the future, you're going to get further talking about finding a solution than rehashing the past. Do you know how long before we have a lease? Things will get a little bit easier, and there's better communication in December when you have that retrograde and you can hash it out. But I think the conversation really needs to be more like, you know, we live together. How do we find ways to be able to move through this conflict? Because, you know, we have to learn to work through this. We have to talk it out. We can't just run. But yeah, mid-February, there's a ton of planets that go through Aquarius in the 4th house. And that's when it's like, shit gets real. So good luck. Let me come back and let me know what happens. Okay, so I have Felicia, Ruby, Victoria, and Jamie. If you guys are just tuning in, scan the QR code. You can get in the queue so you can get a reading. Felicia says, I started a business last year with a product line and online education. I have been stagnant in my growth professionally, although spiritually I've made great strides. What do I need to know in order to finally reach financial freedom? Virgo sun, Virgo moon, Libra rising. Yeah, you'll be able to rewatch this for sure. Once the live is over, you'll be able to replay it. All right, so let's take a look. Felicia. Well, first of all, being a Libra rising with a sun and moon in Virgo, I like to hear that you're making strides spiritually, because that's really important with that sun and the moon in the 12th house. I think about Saturn in your 6th house and how things are taking a little bit longer and you're feeling some sense of maybe challenge and getting through the grind and like finding your consistency. I think about Pluto coming into your 5th house, and it can like dramatically change the way that you look at self-expression and being self-employed. I think the 7th house eclipses in Aries is really strong for clients. I think a Mercury retrograde in your 3rd is an opportunity to rework a marketing campaign or come up with a new idea or go back to something that you have not finished. This is for Felicia. So let's see what the cards say. So we've got 4 of Pentacles, 9 of Wands, and the Knight of Swords. 4 of Pentacles, that sounds about what you were saying. You're feeling a little stuck, feeling a little stagnant. I think with the 4 of Pentacles, you know, in the past position, this talks a little bit about like, are you holding on to something too tight? You know, it can be ideas, it can be ways of working, it can be ways of looking at things. Sometimes the 4 of Pentacles is about there not being enough flow. Like when I think of money, I think of it as like an energy. If you're holding on to it too tight, you're not allowing it to flow freely, and you can be stopping it from coming in. And if you're just spending it, then you're not really holding on to anything. So it's about kind of finding like that center ground. And with 4 of Pentacles, it can also be about being in the mindset of not having any growth and having experienced blockages and kind of telling yourself that, you know, it can be hard to achieve financial freedom or like abundance. I think with the 9 of Wands, this is the keep going card. Like when you're going through hell, you keep going. 9s talk about getting ready to complete a cycle. And so the 9 of Wands is saying like you're kind of looking around, assessing the situation. Perhaps in this situation, you might look at this and go, I've come too far to quit now. I've put too much focus and energy into this. I'm not just going to give up. And it can mean that it's difficult or it feels like a heavy burden moving forward, or maybe that you're hitting a wall creatively. And then we have the Knight of Swords. And so this is interesting because the Knight of Swords can be about ideas, messages, connections, things that you write, things that you learn, places that you go, and connections that you make. So it's kind of saying like, maybe you're going to be coming into a situation here soon where you're going to feel more inspired and you're coming up with new ideas and like ways that you can reach audiences or ways that you can kind of catch the attention of other people. Intuitively, like I said, when I thought about being a Libra rising in this incoming, you know, retrograde in your 3rd house, it's about being like, how can I, you know, reach others? How can I put out more content? How can I get more visibility? Who can see me? Who cannot? How do I improve those odds? And so I wonder if the Knight of Swords is going to be about you looking at ways to increase traffic. 3rd house can be websites, it can be blogs, it can be social media. It can also be talking about taking a new direction in terms of like things that you're writing. I'm a Libra rising too. And I've been thinking about all these things. And I've also been thinking about, you know, the squares to Saturn and how it really comes down to where you're putting the most time and effort. I'm optimistic with this being the last card that it seems like there is going to be a shift in the way that you are actually tackling some of these things. Like you're jumping into action and saying, okay, I'm going to, you know, make it a point to try to reach more people, or maybe you're paying for advertising, or you're talking to somebody who can kind of help drive more traffic to your channel. I also kind of feel like, you know, with this Saturn opposition going on in your 6th house, as it starts to come out of an opposition either with your sun or your moon, Moon rules your 10th house, you're going to find that the hard work and the dedication and the separation has actually kind of done you positive in some way. Maybe it taught you to like reach for help. I think of the 6th house as being help or assistance or people who can kind of help you grow. So sometimes like when knights pop up or when any of the court cards pop up, it could be people. So it could be somebody who can kind of help you in getting a little bit more traction in terms of what you're actually selling. This can also be other, Libras or Aquariuses or Geminis, people who come in that specialize in communication and information. I also feel like this may be about, a new idea, or maybe there is like something that you were teaching that you want to go back to and you want to perfect, or you want to make a tweak to it, or you want to change something. The card that I get for the confirmation card is the 5 of Cups. So I actually think that this might also be tackling feelings of being like, okay, this hasn't been working, and kind of like beating yourself up, because we know that it's mind over matter. I also feel inclined to tell you that the eclipses that are coming in your 7th house are going to bring clients, or they're going to bring more kind of visibility. So I would be focusing in the immediate next couple of weeks on ways to be able to be more so seen. So you're working on creating that platform or gaining more, kind of traffic, so you can start talking to people about what you're actually selling. But I think you've come too far to kind of turn back now. And I feel like there's too much investment of time and energy and also resources for you to kind of give up. And if anything, the Knight of Swords is about being like, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to work harder. I'm going to be louder. I'm going to get more, I'm going to get more of myself out there so people are noticing me. Okay. Good luck. That can be difficult. A lot of it has to do with Saturn in opposition to your sun. I see lots of challenges with people with their career with that. And also when Saturn's in opposition to your 10th house ruler. But I think Pluto going into Aquarius is going to be a game changer for you, because it'll definitely have the opportunity to open up all different types of, creative endeavors. All right, so let's see, who else do we have here? We've got Ruby, Victoria, and then Jamie. Clarissa wants to know their current feelings. Love and relationship. All right, let's take a look. Last call in 10 minutes. All right, so Clarissa says, what are their feelings? And what's going on with this love or relationship? What's up, Taliba? Their feelings for love and relationships. Don't worry, you guys. I'll give you an updated list in just a second. I'm in the early stages of talking to a Leo sun, Pisces moon, and rising. And I'm a Leo sun. I'm a Leo sun, Sag moon, Scorpio rising. I'd love insight in knowing if we move forward and how he truly feels about me. Cool. You can give us information about how the Scorpio risings are feeling. Thank you, Laura. I'll get you guys in just a second. I'll give you an update. Okay, so we have got 7 of Cups, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Temperance card. Okay, so Leo, Sun, Pisces, Moon, and Rising. That's an interesting combo. Sounds like a little bit of a showboat. I love that 7 of Cups. Can you guys see that? That's such a cool card. Okay, so 7 of Cups talks about trying to see something clearly, too many options, maybe feeling overwhelmed, questioning whether or not there is like a connection, all of the different ways that things can go, wondering like what's going to stick and what's not going to stick. So when I think of this card in the past position, it might kind of indicate where you're like, okay, I don't know where this is going. I don't know what your interest is. What are we doing here? There can be a sense of getting mixed messages with the 7 of Cups. And it reminds me of like a game show where you have like all of the different doors and you have to pick one and you don't know if you're going to get like a brand new car or if you're going to like get a blender. And that in the past position also talks about maybe you're coming out of situations where there's been lots of confusion in dating, and like maybe there's been situations where you trusted people and you thought it was going to go in one direction and then it fell flat. Or maybe you had a situation in the recent past where, somebody kind of took you by surprise and you were like, okay, it's going to take me time to be able to kind of open up again. So there can be a sense of questioning whether or not what you're seeing is who this person really is and if there is potentially a future. Then we have the Knight of Pentacles. And so here's the deal. Knights are dedicated to their cause. They are not always the most reliable people in a dating sense, but if I had to pick one, I would definitely pick the Knight of Pentacles, because I feel like while he's slow moving when it comes to developing a relationship, this is the one that's going to be the most responsible, the most respectful, the most kind. This is going to be the one that's also likely to kind of stick around. It can take time to get them out of their shell though, right? Because the Knight of Coins is like somebody who's a little shy, they're not sure, there's like a kind of feeling of them being in and being out. But really, it's just them taking time to kind of warm up to you. It can mean that this person is just like a little bit more traditional, or that this person is just like a little bit more used to being on their own. You have to understand that also, like, Pisces risings have Saturn in their sign right now. So, there is a sense of them being like a little guarded and being a little cautious. Mercury rules their 7th house. Mercury is going into their 10th. It'll retrograde. So there's going to be some changes going on either with their career or their status. So there is like a sense of them weighing their options. I think with the Temperance card coming up, that's actually a nice placement. It's basically saying like all in the appropriate time. I don't think you're wasting your time here. I don't think you've got somebody who's like really playing games. I think you've got a situation where it's somebody who has really probably this last summer really been in the season of healing. I think about a Venus retrograde in his sun sign. I think about a Mercury retrograde in his 7th house. And so there could have been a sense of, well, do I want to date again? Do I not? Am I ready? And so now maybe he's being a little bit more cautious because he knows what he wants, or he knows his worth, and he doesn't really feel like he wants to rush into anything. I think the Temperance card in the final position is also really referencing Sag season as being kind of like an indication of what direction this is going to go in. So Temperance coming up there is also saying like there is something that can be really positive about coming together. Timing seems to be really important. It can also be a lot about two parties being really different but also complementary. Oh, so I'm confused. He's actually serious about me. I don't know. Okay. I didn't want him at first, and then I felt more attached. I want to know if we could warm up to me. And yeah. He can definitely warm up. And I think the other thing that's interesting is that, Temperance can be talking about the fact that you guys can actually help heal each other. I'm not saying you need a trauma bond, but if he is kind of getting over some relationship issues, maybe it's just he's in a dynamic where he's not used to being with something that might be healthier, or he's not used to being in something where he's learning how to define himself or have, boundaries. So I think this coming up right now is like really, really, really significant, because it's saying both of you guys are kind of learning how to get into the flow of potentially being in a relationship. And don't mistake him just being cautious and also probably being a little bit more traditional for being not interested. So I definitely think that's more or less what's kind of going on. 7 of Cups can also be saying like, when in doubt and when the time is right, sit down and talk about it. I would definitely say approaching him and talking more about relationship stuff when Mercury is coming into a trine with Jupiter is going to be better. You're going to see that actually a couple times because Mercury will retrograde. So wait till Mercury gets into Capricorn, and it's going to be going through his 11th house, and it'll trine Jupiter, which will be hanging out in Taurus, and it's going to, give him more opportunity to be able to communicate and talk about goals and relationships and, what the future holds. He'll be more open to communication then. But let's see. I think the Uranus opposition, my Scorpio moon got me crazy with emotions. It will do that. It will do that. The oppositions have been wild, and a lot of people, especially this week, have been feeling either afraid or a little resistant to change. But I actually really feel like slow and steady with this one could potentially win the race. Okay? Good luck. I hope this was helpful. Can we just have some light and happy astrology? The 20s have been no joke. No joke. You're welcome. All right, so we're going to have Victoria, Jamie, Jessica. You guys are all on deck. and I'll give you guys an updated list. Last call is in about a minute, so if you guys want to sign up, sign up. We're going to do some B-roll. Shameless plugs. I think the Beyond the Veil team, we woke up today and we realized, like, oh, Thanksgiving is next week. So we started getting everything ready. All right, so we are going to have Victoria, Jamie, Jessica, Kristen, Anne, Andrea, Sasha, Sandra, Kimmy, Sage Moon, Dorothy, Taliba, Laura, and Myra. Ladies' night. It is a ladies' night tonight. We're doing $5 drink. Where's the dudes? All right, so let me move down my list. We're going to do Victoria, Jamie, and Jessica. Victoria says, give me a 3-card pull. Hello. Team of 2. Oh, that's right. There's just 2. Yeah, bring me some wine too. Share the wine. All right, so we've got a 3-card pull for Victoria. Let's see what this deck says. This deck's, I don't know, it's kind of hot for being a new deck. It takes a little time to kind of get to know the personality. Some decks are sassy. I've got 8 of Cups, the Hangman, and the 7 of Wands. That's such a great Hangman card. Love it. Okay, so I'm going to go on a limb here, but 8 of Cups, Hangman, and the 7 of Wands kind of makes me feel like there's a situation that's either currently brewing or there's something where you're like, okay, if I walk away from this, am I backing down? If I let the situation go, am I giving up? Something like that, because 8 of Cups talks about walking away. You know, the Hangman talks about kind of being stuck and being suspended and not knowing how to make a decision, or, you know, maybe being in a situation where you feel like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You're afraid maybe to make a change or to stand up. But the 7 of Wands is basically saying, like, no, don't back down. Right? If you're questioning giving up on something, hang tight. Literally, it reminds me of, like, remember, like, in the 90s, like, you like go into your counselor's office, or like even in your classroom, they had like the kittens hanging on, and it was like, hang in there. That's what I always think of when I see the Hangman. But especially with this particular spread, it's basically suggesting that you're right on the precipice of leaving something behind, saying, you know what, forget this, I'm done. I'm not looking back. Maybe there's a sense of, like, really reflecting and questioning whether or not you're making too many sacrifices for something. Definitely the Hangman can be symbolic also of, you know, being in a situation where you're dealing with some real Saturn stuff. The Hangman has connections and association with Neptune and Pisces. So I think about some people looking at some things right now being like, is it even worth the trouble? Is it worth even making the effort? And we're having to push a little bit harder this week because, you know, Mars is in Sag, or it's going to be in Sag soon, and it's coming into a square with Saturn. So we're having to make a sacrifice. We're breaking through in some way. Maybe there is a sense of, you know, realizing and recognizing that you've come too far or worked too hard to just give up on someone or something. And the 7 of Wands is about standing your ground, and it's about not just not giving up, but being seen as somebody who is, that's maintaining their position, right? So the confirmation card that I got for you is the Magician. And so this is basically saying, like, beating the odds, overcoming something, changing the way that you look at a situation. For me, this is also like moving out of a situation where maybe you saw it as, you identified as a victim, and now you're like, no, I'm overcoming it. Or maybe you saw something as a disadvantage or a setback, and you're like, no, I'm looking at it as like a hurdle, but it's an opportunity. I don't know if you're here. Thank you, those of you guys who got in last call. But yeah, I mean, oh, there you go. Is this, I sent the payment yesterday. So Victoria, this is you, right? Victoria Miller? the minimum number for a team. From therapist to MD. So if this is yours, I'm going to assume that this is you. Yeah. So this is about being like not stopping, keep going. I don't have a specific question. I see that. Oh, there it is. So never mind. You sent it in two. Okay. I was like, I'm reading blindly here. Okay, so the question is, I recently decided to make a career change to medicine and have recently applied to a pre-med program. I just want 3 card pulled about this. What is the outcome of the pursuit? Yes, you keep going. So what did you walk away from? The old job? So this is the career change? Okay, so it was pretty literal. I didn't even read the question. I didn't see it. So walking away from the old career, leaving it behind, realizing that you're done. The hangman is basically saying making a sacrifice, taking a leap of faith, making a change. I love that this also deals very much with medicine or, hospital related things, Pisces, Neptune, private places, things like that. And also feeling like you're putting yourself in a position where you're in suspension. So if you made this career shift to medicine and you're applying to a program, this could also mean that you're putting yourself in a position where you're like, I'm not doing anything but, either going to school or making sacrifices in my schedule. I mean, you may be able to work and do pre-med, but this is saying that you're putting yourself in a position where you're having to take a leap of faith and also not having as much freedom that you once had. Then you have the 7 of Wands, which is basically saying like, no, you go. You go forward, you'll be successful. You'll be able to work through the program. It is about continuing to push forward and also staying on top of your game when it comes to your career. Being also in a position where I feel like you're going to do very well. So it's about scaling the ladder. 7 of Wands is like about people not being able to kind of like top what you're doing. So it looks like you're going for a career or a position through the education that you're pursuing where you're at the top of your game. Confirmation card is the Magician. So it's literally changing and transforming your future. It's making your manifestations and your desires a reality. Yes, the answer is yes. So cool. That was kind of cool to read that blindly and then see how much that they applied. I'm glad that you did it that way. That was very Saturn and Pisces. It was like, give me the 3 cards. And then and then there's the question. So when you watch the playback, you'll see. But yeah, congrats on making the move. I definitely think that the outcome is going to be positive, and I see it as being a situation where you're going to be on top. Maybe top of your class. Good luck. Okay, so I've got Jamie. You're welcome. All right, so I've got Jamie. Jamie says, I'm starting a new business venture. Everything is about ready. What day should I take everything live to the public for it to be the best possible start? Wait until after Thanksgiving or as soon as possible. What's up, Jamie? Aquarius Sun, Cancer Rising. Well, with Mars and the Sun going into your 6th house, you really want to work. But I want to remind you that it's going to square Saturn. Okay, and Saturn is in Pisces, which is in your 9th house, which is going to be about advertising, promotion. It can also be about relationships with people up and farther away. I would say, without even looking at the cards yet, I'll see what the cards say. But I'm going to continue to keep telling people after the Mercury retrograde, or do it when Mercury trines Jupiter, which is not going to be until after Thanksgiving. But let's see. So we're going to pull, this card is going to be before Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving, sorry, this card is going to be as soon as possible, okay? And then I'll give you another card. So, these are slippery. All right, so this is if you wait until after Thanksgiving. Temperance. Okay, in this episode of Beyond the Veil is brought to you by Temperance. I can't wait till you guys see my astro weather video because everybody is going to have to slow their roll. So it's basically saying timing timing, take your time, waiting for everything to kind of come together the right way. And then this card is going to be, if you do it as soon as possible, 8 of Cups. How many times have we pulled these 2 cards now? It's been at least 3. So my intuition, I think, is kind of bang on. Wait until after Thanksgiving, okay? And I really, really recommend do it while Mercury trines Jupiter. You get the 6 of Pentacles. So that's your 3rd card for the outcome. So giving and receiving, exchange. This can actually be the card of business and working with people and selling products or selling services. So yeah, that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. Definitely wait until after Thanksgiving. Don't do it as soon as possible, because you may do some things that you're like, oh, I should have done this, or I should have done that, and I could have done this, and I could have done that. And it just seems to me like there can be a sense of either moving on too quickly or having some regrets about some things that you might have missed, if that makes sense. What is your business? You can do your shameless plug. And I definitely recommend go and look at, actually, I'll just tell you now, because that video is not going to come out for a while. Mercury will trine Jupiter. It'll trine Jupiter several times, actually. So it's going to trine Jupiter on December 8th. And it's going to do it on December 18th. And then again on January 18th. Those are the 3 days that are best. Okay? Good luck. Hopefully that is helpful for you. All right, so we've got Jessica, then we're going to have Kristen and Anne. No worries. You'll be able to go back and listen to it, but basically before Thanksgiving. All right, so I've got here for Jessica Z. I'm Jessica. My boyfriend Daniel and I are separating. I'm devastated, but trying to allow for what's our ultimate divine plan. Is this love? Would love to know some insights from the cards. All right, well, I'm sorry to hear you're going through it. Let's take a look. Let's see what we can tell Jessica about her and her boyfriend Daniel. Is it love? What is the outcome? They are separating right now. In this order. All right, so we have got the 8 of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands, and the 3 of Pentacles. Well, to be honest with you, first of all, there's no cups coming up. So this isn't a spread that's about emotions, even though there might be a lot of emotions kind of going on. These are more about doing the work, working through something, working on the relationship, working on yourselves individually, and whether or not there is a path forward if you guys are both willing to do that work. So we've got the 8 of Pentacles, which is a card that's generally about, you know, working on a relationship, working on a career, perfecting something that you've been doing. I'm wondering, if we look at what's happened in the recent past in the relationship, have you guys been working on some of the issues that kind of led up to the ultimate, you know, decision to separate? 8 of Pentacles also, to me, feels like this can be a relationship where everything's kind of going along and it's kind of like routine and it's clockwork, like a well-oiled machine. So it can be feeling like being in a relationship where it's like, okay, we're going through the motions, and not that that's bad, we're functioning, but like, where are we going? Because there can be this sense of like repetition in a relationship with that card. Not a bad card though. But I'm wondering what work you guys have been doing on the relationship leading up to this. Then we have the Queen of Wands. So regardless of what sign you are, I think this is discussing you and like The Queen of Wands is about action and vitality and creativity and happiness and sexuality. And it's like a really warm, kind of friendly, sexy card. And so this being in the current position isn't so much about your relationship with your other, this other person you've been dating. It's more about how do you feel, right? Like the Queen of Wands can be, I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm, regretful. Like there can be like a lot of like emotions going on with like fire elements. And this is also about finding ways to use this energy and like tap into yourself. Like if you're feeling like you need an outlet, it's about creating. It's about letting that out and finding a way to better kind of express yourself. This can also be an opportunity for empowerment. So there can be this sense of looking around being like, okay, I'm sure we've all had that girlfriend that's going through like a really bad breakup. You guys have you seen this like video on TikTok where it's like, show me the man that you're crying about. And it's like some like goofy looking dude. So I'm not saying that's the case in this relationship, but I look at this and I'm like wondering, are you crying and getting emotional and upset over somebody who is potentially walking away from a good thing, right? Because the Queen of Wands, like she knows that her shit doesn't stink. Like she's like, oh, you're not leaving me, I'm leaving you. It's like a very Queen of Wands response. Somebody who really knows what they bring to the table. They're very confident. They're very secure in who they are. They're not going to allow themselves to be defined by a relationship. They're not also going to sit around crying about somebody who's potentially, passing up a really good thing. So this kind of talks about you shifting the energies a little bit and kind of turning more inward and looking at yourself and what you have to offer and really asking yourself also, are you happy in this dynamic? The outside cards don't seem to signify that anything's wrong. It's like everything's going through the motions, but that there may be something that is not exciting enough or not passionate enough or not fun enough or not creative enough. And so when she's kind of between these two pentacles, there can be a sense of like having a break to really take a sidestep from the relationship and go, okay, outside of this other person, what do I want? What do I enjoy? What do I want out of life and out of a relationship? It is possible that there is, work to still be done. I mean, I think you guys can come together. You have the Three of Pentacles, which is saying you can work on these things, but it's going to take another person. That can mean that you guys are like, we need to go and spend more time with our friends. We can't have too much togetherness, or we do need to be seeing, a couples counselor and kind of working through some of these situations. Still, the Pentacles feel cold to me. They feel detached to me. And the final card that I get is the Ten of Pentacles. So let me ask you a question. If you're watching this, I don't know if you are, but it's almost as if the Ten of Pentacles, if this is the end game, are you guys both on the same page about what you're hoping to achieve out of a relationship? Is one person looking for something that's going to be a little bit more long-term and serious and traditional? This is a card where you see like the family coming together and they're celebrating their wealth and their riches and there's long-term planning and there is some kind of family legacy, right? And I'm wondering if this is a situation where you've got one person who's like, the relationship is great, but like, I don't want what you want, or, I don't see this going any further than just this. And then kind of looking at things being like, okay, well then I got to make moves. Because it doesn't seem to be a relationship problem. It seems that the problem is that one party isn't necessarily on the same page with the other party about the long-term goals. And this can be about marriage, this can be about family, this can be about where you're living, your career. But there is something here that's kind of saying that long-term goals are potentially coming up right now and being reviewed and really putting you in a position where you have to kind of take action and choose whether or not this is what you want. And if it's ultimately not making you happy or not feeding your soul, then you're going to look at this and you're going to go, okay, I still have some work to do, whether in the relationship or on myself. No reconciliation cards are coming up. No relation cards are coming up. It's just saying that this is giving you the opportunity to work through it and decide whether or not this is actually something that you want, right? Hopefully that's helpful. And I don't know if you're watching, but if you want, come back, give feedback. All right, so we've got Kristen and Andrea. And Sasha too. Sasha, I don't have your question. Okay, so we've got Kristen, who says, single card tarot, please. This is about my ex-fiance's son. I just realized how we were destined to meet before. Are we destined to cross paths again? I still love him and miss him so much, but his mom didn't respond to my last text. Thank you. Okay, let's take a look. So you're wondering about your ex-fiance's son. You're destined to meet. Are you destined to cross paths again? Thank you. So let's take a look. Let's see. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So let's take a look. This is going to be for your ex's son. I get the 2 of Pentacles crossed with the 8 of Pentacles. There you go. That was on the bottom of the deck. Page of Pentacles. Okay, lots of Pentacles. So pages obviously indicate small children. We've got the 2 of Pentacles coming up, which is talking about increments of 2. This can also be about weighing your options. This can be about 2 months, 2 years, but also 2 paths crossing. 2 of Pentacles is like, if you will it into existence, if you want it to happen, you know, if you're in the right place at the right time. I don't really feel like this is a situation where you're going to get a lot of support from another person, because 2 of Pentacles talks about a fluctuating situation. So I'm not saying that you have to rely purely on the connection to family, but I feel like there may be other ways for you to be able to kind of cross paths. I also think with the Page of Pentacles coming up, I mean, this could quite literally be like having a situation where a kid is asking for you or asking about you. Pages are also, you know, about kind of taking matters into their own hands, or trying to do something on their own. Obviously, this is a young kid, but, you know, the Page of Pentacles is somebody who is very independent. This is somebody who's also very intelligent. They're very responsible. And they can be talking about what they want, right? In particular, like physical things or gifts. I know this sounds weird, but if it's not crossing a line, I almost wonder if there's a way of being able to like send a letter or a note or a gift. Because it can mean that there is some physical exchange or something that is offered that like helps make that reconnection between the 2 of you. So I personally feel like it is going to be possible for you guys to physically see each other again. This is happening in earth signs, but it may be like increments of 2. What did you say? The last time we talked, his mom says he asks about me all the time and if we still talk. Yeah. Yeah, I do think that you're going to see him again. And I think this is going to be about not only having time together, but having an opportunity to have an exchange. Like, are you able to send a letter? Right? And this sounds crazy. If you want to send a letter, because this is increments of 2, like include like another envelope and like a stamp and maybe like a piece of paper or something so they can like respond. But that might be a good way to kind of keep the connection. And I think of like the Page as receiving something and being like, I got this from someone. So it might give you the opportunity to continue to kind of keep in touch, but also have the opportunity to be like, hey, you know, can we see each other? Can we plan something? And kind of keep that connection going. But look for increments of 2. 2 of coins is usually about 2 months. So there can be something right around that time. Good luck. Okay, so we have Anne, and then Andrea and Sandra. I know there's a couple of you guys asking. I'm going to update this in a second. Okay, so Anne, do you have a particular question? Just a 1-card reading, general? Andrea, same thing, 3 cards. I'm going to update this really quick. I'll let you guys know who I have. If I say your name, then you got in. Leah, Myra, Laura, Taliba, Anne, Dorothy, Sage Moon, Kimmy, let's see, Sandra, Andrea. You guys are all the ones that I got. Good luck, Kristen. All right, so we are going to do a 1-card pull for Anne. So the same cards. We have the 7 of Cups coming up for you. And essentially this is telling me needing more clarity on a situation. I mean, hello, obviously you're getting a reading, but this can be a sense of asking yourself, like, am I seeing things clearly? You know, am I getting honesty? Am I missing something? Is there something that is being falsely represented? So we've got the 7 of Cups crossed with the 10 of Pentacles. Okay. So to me, this is saying, like, having some questions maybe about future plans, some questions about future long-term goals, trying to gain some kind of clarity about future career moves or something in regards to finances. I think with the 7 of Cups, there can be almost like, I think of this card as like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, right? So there could be too many opportunities, or there could be almost like a frazzled kind of sense of being, where it's hard to be able to kind of get a grasp on what direction something is going to break. Sometimes this card comes up also like when you're feeling like you're getting psychically slimed, because the Cups can talk about being in a situation where you're super empathic or sensitive and you're picking up on too much stuff and you're like, I don't know, am I seeing signs? Am I not? You know, am I reading this clearly? Am I not? And I think with the 10 of Pentacles crossing, it's basically saying that you're trying to gain some kind of clarity about future plans, long-term planning, when it comes to either your family or your career or a financial situation. What I will tell you is that the 10 of Coins is a confirmation card, is basically saying, stay grounded. All is going to end fine in the end. You're going to end up having something that's going to play out probably better than you think it will. Right now, it's about being able to have tunnel vision and not getting distracted about what could happen or what may happen, and like trying to stay super laser focused on making things happen in the moment. Long-term goals. So rather than getting so overwhelmed with the situation that you need to tackle, being like, okay, where do I see myself a year from now? And if I need to see myself in this situation a year from now, what am I doing every single day between now and then to kind of hold myself accountable? And how am I checking in and making sure that I'm reaching shorter goals before I get to that long goal, right? Because long-term planning can kind of come up with the 10 of Pentacles. And sometimes it's family related, you know, with the 10 of Pentacles. It's not always job or finances. Sometimes it can be, how do I handle this situation, you know, with a family member? Or how do I handle this situation with a parent, or, you know, moving situation? It's something that involves like planning when it comes to money, time, or maybe even your family. So rather than getting overwhelmed, start focusing on where you see yourself and taking those short kind of steps to reach those goals before you get to the ultimate end result. Hopefully that's helpful for you. We've got Andrea. Andrea, are you here? Do you have a particular question for me? I have you for 3 cards. And Sasha, you're next. Do you have a particular question for me? Anything from Andrea or Sasha? If you guys don't let me know what your question is, you're just going to get a general reading. Oh, okay. That was you. Okay. You're very welcome. Okay, Sasha, let me know what your question is. And if Andrea pops in, let me know what your question is. Okay. All right, Sasha says, I'm turning 27 in Feb, Pisces sun, Pisces rising. I've been a sex worker since 18. I've always had to choose between money and love, never feeling like I can have both. Will 2024 have anything in store for me? I have a crush. Well, let's take a look. All right, so let's see what these cards say. Is love on the horizon for Sasha in 2024? All right, so it's in this order. We have some new cards, finally. So we have the Hermit, the Two of Cups, and the Ace of Swords. Interesting. Well, I mean, come on. Two of Cups is the relationship card, so that's really nice in the current position for what you're kind of working towards. The Hermit card is a major arcana card, and this is a card that is associated with Virgo. Being a Pisces sun and a Pisces rising, Virgo actually rules your 7th house of relationships. So sometimes this can be an indication of meeting a Virgo. Sometimes this can be about connecting with somebody who is more kind of like studious. So it's interesting that you said that you have a crush on your tutor. But the Hermit card also comes up in the previous position where it talks about like spending more time with yourself. You've been in kind of like reflection mode, isolation mode. Obviously, Saturn's been in Pisces, so there's probably been a little bit more of you keeping to yourself or kind of working on your self goals. I would assume recently with the retrograde in your 7th, there was a sense of being like, I want to change in how I, relate to other people and the kind of relationships that I want. You need to look for a really strong transit from an outer planet to your natal Mercury, and that's likely going to make some things happen in your relationship life. Equally, you want to be looking at what's going on with your natal Venus. Now, I think with the Hermit card in the past position, it's saying you've been kind of keeping to yourself. You're moving out of that. The card in the middle is about the current position and what you're hoping to achieve. Two of Cups is about union, relationships, meeting somebody, coming together, having some kind of offer, going on dates, going on, outings, and, people inviting you to do things and really kind of being invited to participate in a relationship. I do feel like it also can be talking about opening yourself up to a relationship where it's a fair exchange and it's not somebody who wants something from you. It's somebody who wants to spend time with you or somebody who wants to give fairly, right? Because that Two of Cups is about kind of cheersing one another and sharing with one another. So sometimes that can be about having a connection with somebody who wants to fill your cup too. So I think the Two of Cups is about remaining hopeful and open and also being able to see where there's other people who kind of show up who, who have something to offer you. That's a really strong indication of an incoming relationship though. And then the Ace of Swords talks about new initiations, new beginnings, communication, contracts, ideas. This can be about conversations you're having with somebody, but I also think that this is about intention and setting the intention through vocalizing it, writing it out in a notebook, meditating with it, mantras and other things that are about kind of bringing this or willing this into existence. Ace of Swords is also an interesting card because it does talk about boundaries. And so it kind of reminds me of, Mars and Saturn. Mars is something that's sharp. It's coming into Sag this week. It's going to square Saturn. So it can talk about like some kind of a sacrifice. And so I do think that what we're going to see, especially for Pisces risings, as we see Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius in your career sector, it's going to come into conjunction with Mars. And it means that you could meet somebody who's going to be like, oh, we have an exchange, we kind of like each other, and you may feel like you have to make some professional changes or career changes or life direction changes to better facilitate a relationship. So that reminds me of the Mars, transit, this card where there's something coming up, but you're like, okay, it's going to force you to make a move or make a change or maybe cut something or make, a shift to either your status or something about your work to better facilitate a relationship. You'll see that play out towards the end of the year, and it'll still kind of be, leaning into the beginning of 2024. But I also feel like this is about just being straight up and honest, being like, look, this is my career, this is what I do for a living, but I still want a relationship and I want to meet someone. You may find that honesty is like the best policy because, you know, the Ace of Swords is about being just direct and to the point. And maybe somebody will really like and appreciate, you know, that honesty because they're going to feel like at least they can communicate and connect with you clearly. Confirmation card is 10 of Cups. So I do feel like there is a lot of opportunity for a relationship. I do feel like you're coming out of your, you know, your shell and you're at least open to connecting with people. And I feel like Saturn on your ascendant is just really about maintaining your boundaries when it comes to relationships and making sure that other people are kind of like respecting you in the process. So congrats. It looks like it's definitely going to be a relationship season for you here pretty soon. Hopefully that's helpful. So Andrea, I did not hear from Andrea. So let me do Andrea's reading. So this will be 3 cards. After that, we have Sandra, Kimmy, Sage, Moon, and Dorothy. You guys are so patient. Thank you. I appreciate it. You're welcome, Sasha. All right, so this is 3 cards for Andrea. Thanks, Danielle. Thanks, Sasha. Thanks, MJ. All right, so this is 3 cards. We've got 8 of Swords, 9 of Wands, King of Wands. Wowzers. So to me, this is like, it's kind of like the underdog story. 8 of Swords, talking about feeling stuck, feeling limited, fearful, afraid, not knowing how to get out of a situation, dealing with stress and anxiety. But this is also self-imposed, okay? So 8s are about transformation. Swords can be about intellect, communication, but it can also be stuff that can be a little tricky in navigating. And then I think about how the 8 of Swords in the past is like having been stuck in a situation, but then we have 9 of Wands overcoming it. I think also, you know, the 9 of Wands is about kind of looking at the past and being like, look how far I've come. There can be a sense of you looking at situations that you didn't think that you were going to overcome, or, you know, maybe situations that you felt like you could have or you should have kind of quit while you were ahead, or, you know, just like let something go, but you didn't. 9 of Wands is also about being in a situation and kind of surveying what's like left. You know, it's kind of like the last man standing. When this card comes up for me, it's always about a person who's feeling like they're right on the brink of like quitting or giving up. But this is why I said this is kind of like an underdog story. Then you get the King of Wands. So you go from being stuck, feeling outnumbered and like totally wiped out and being on the brink of, you know, like letting something go. And then you get to the King position, which is the mastership position. King of Wands doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a man. It can be about you exercising these qualities of being creative and fierce and independent and entrepreneurial, and fierce is kind of the frame of mind when I think about the King of Wands. But it can also be talking about fire signs that come to kind of help you through a situation where you feel like you need a helping hand. So Aries, Leos, and Sagittariuses, they can kind of pop up here as well. Something about this makes me feel like it's about kind of getting your groove back and like finding your confidence and standing up for yourself, or being a little bit more physically active, or having some kind of breakthrough when it comes to like a job situation. I also feel like this can be really powerful for you kind of being in a situation where you're like, I had a really significant physical transformation, because fire is about burning something off and purification. Confirmation card again is the 10 of Cups. So it's about not just the physical transformation, but also some kind of a breakthrough. So I'm wondering, is it about overcoming an injury, you know, finding a new job and like succeeding in a new career? Is this about, you know, putting yourself in a position of trying to launch something on your own? And even though maybe you had a few moments where you were kind of tested, then you finally launched it, and then you see that you have a breakthrough, and like the emotional fulfillment in itself is enough to kind of justify celebrating. But yeah, something about this King of Wands is about tapping into that masculine energy of being like, oh, you don't think I can do this? Watch me. And finding like that little bit of inner strength right at the end of a struggle. but really pushing through because you're looking at how far you've come. But very much a underdog story, or this could almost be like almost like a rags to riches situation, where you have some opportunity to overcome something that was extremely, extremely trying, especially mentally. Sometimes when Eight of Swords comes up, it's like you can't get over the breakup or the ending of the job, or somebody that you lost, and you're just like, okay, I'm finally pulling myself out of having been in a funk, and I'm kind of getting my groove back. So whatever's going on here, you'll be seeing this, especially over like the next 8 to 9 weeks. But moving around, physically moving, and like being in some sunshine. I know that can be hard in some parts of the world right now. It can be really helpful. So sometimes when the King of Wands comes up, I always tell people like physical activity, massage, infrared saunas, working up a sweat, heat can also help kind of move anything that's kind of stagnant or in a funk out of your body. Hopefully that's helpful for you. You're welcome. I love that. I love when women pull kings. That's my favorite. All right, so we've got Sandra, Kimmy, Sage Moon, and then Dorothy. All right, so Sandra says, do you see a promotion for me in my current department, or should I look elsewhere? Good question. So do we see a promotion for Sandra in her current position, or should we look elsewhere? Leo rising, Leo sun, Scorpio moon. I think about the eclipse that you just had in your 10th house. Oh, why am I feeling so indecisive with this one? And how that eclipse was conjunct Jupiter, which is still yet to go direct. So some of the good things might still be coming. 3 of Cups. No, I actually really feel like, first of all, the 3 of Cups is a celebration card. Okay, so that in itself would be like, am I going to get it? That would be a yes for me. But what's interesting is the confirmation card that I get for that is the 2 of Swords. So I kind of feel like there's a situation where it's like, maybe you're offered a new status or title, or you get offered to, move to a different department. But there's a catch. 2 of Swords is like, we'll give it to you and you're going to get the promotion and you're going to get more money, but you have to deal with this like person in accounting, or like, you have to work more closely with so-and-so, and you might be like, oh, there's going to be a catch basically. I think the other thing is a lot of this will make sense because you're a Leo rising. You're going to see Mercury is going to turn retrograde in your 6th house. And that can be about changes with coworkers, departments, changes going on with your schedule. And that's going to be kind of taking place over the next like 6 weeks or so. So the 3 of Cups tells me there's reason to celebrate, getting some opportunity to work with other people, being stoked about it. 2 of Swords is saying, yeah, but there's a little bit of a catch. I also think about like planets that are going to come into conjunction to Pluto. So it can mean that you're having to work with some difficult people, or that you're going to have to make a change to your schedule. I don't want to take away from the positive, because the positive is that just your astrology in general seems to indicate that that's going to happen. Jupiter in the 10th, when Jupiter goes direct in the new year, you're going to see it. And it might mean that you're working with like a fun bunch, or that you're working with like a group of people that you actually enjoy hanging out with and spending time with. It doesn't just feel like coworkers. But it almost feels to me like, especially also with Jupiter being in your 10th house, you're like, okay, well, I got a promotion, and it's like, do I feel like I can be friendly with these people now? Like maybe, they were kind of like my associates, but now maybe I'm like managing a team, and now you're kind of like, ooh, how does that work? Because I like these people, but like now I might be moving into a more superior position. Anyway, good luck on the impending promotion, because it does look like that's going to be happening for you. We've got Kimmy. Kimmy says, hey, Candace, thank you for all that you do. I'm curious about what you see for my love life in the future, i.e. a partner, marriage, etc. My love life has been hella dry, and I feel like it's never going to happen. Much love. All right, let's take a look. So let's see if Kimmy's going to be meeting someone special. Hopefully we can help her break that dry spell. You're welcome. In this order, we have Ten of Swords, the Four of Wands, and the Strength card. Ooh, I kind of like these cards. Cancer rising, Pisces moon, Taurus sun. Ooh, I like that combo. So, you know, here's the deal, right? Ten of Swords is like, you know, have you done your healing work? Have you forgiven other people? You know, have you moved on from like what has not worked or what's hurt you or who's hurt you? Right? I feel like I should pull the doll out and be like, show me on the doll where they hurt you. That's kind of what I think about when I see the Ten of Swords. It's like, you could still be in the process of being like, yeah, I'm ready to date, but like that person. So if there's anything that's still kind of hanging out or hanging around or kind of keeping you from being able to move forward, the Ten of Swords is saying like, it's time to heal, remove the swords, let it go, you know, finally tend to the wounds so you don't bleed out and get ready for something new. I also feel like Ten of Swords in the past position in like a relationship spread or like a love spread can be like, you know, I got burned bad, or I felt like somebody, you know, they destroyed my confidence, or they, you know, they broke my trust, and like now I got trust issues. And so I think that it's really important to like let the past be in the past with this card in this position. Don't assume that you're going to see just like a repetition of what you've kind of dealt with previously. Moving on to the Four of Wands, such a great card. And the Strength card. This is like getting out and doing something, right? So Four of Wands is temporary spaces. This is fairs, this is live music, clubs, shows, bars, parties, right? I'm not sending you on a wild goose chase, but I will tell you that if you're a Cancer rising, you're going to be experiencing some scheduling changes, okay? That's what's going to be happening with some of the retrogrades. It's going to happen in your 6th house. Habit changes, right? So you might change gyms, you might change something about your work schedule, you might change something about your habits, maybe you're rearranging things so you can make more time for love or travel. But Four of Wands is about celebrating and putting yourself out there and being in a kind of group or community environment where you're more likely to meet someone. So you have to go out to meet people. You're going to have to do that with this card coming up. If you get invited to stuff, if there's holiday things going on, or if there's going to be like parties or like get-togethers, like go, trust me, it'll be a good time. I also think that the Strength card being in the final position is talking about the fact that you're staying open and you're letting love in. Now, this can be an indication of meeting somebody at a performance-based place. This can be meeting somebody near a theater or a bar or a casino if you're feeling lucky. This can also be talking about like remaining open and not having an agenda, right? So much about the Strength card is just being like, I'm just going to let somebody love me and I'm not going to like fight back. I'm not going to push back. I'm just going to like let it happen. And also recognize that you can't, once you do meet somebody, push it along too quickly. You're just going to like let love grow. Strength card can be about meeting a Leo. Okay. So that is possible. I think about, you know, you being a Taurus placement. So, you know, sometimes if you have squares, it can definitely bring somebody in. So Taurus sun, you know, Leo sun, there can be a little bit of like a back and forth with the egos, but still, I think that can be something that's fun, especially being somebody who's a Cancer rising. If you bring somebody in who's got some strong Leo placements, they're going to make you feel loved, right? They're going to make you feel wanted because that's going to land in your 2nd house. But I think that this is also about being in a state of, like loving yourself and having a lot of confidence, especially in the way that you carry yourself when you're out there, not being guarded and kind of, you know, having your guard up, remaining open and approachable. And I think so much about the Strength card is about not feeling like you have to force something, just like letting it kind of come to you organically. Also, like with the Leo card, big hair, big jewelry, lots of gold, loud outfits, things that are going to kind of catch people's attention might also be helpful to kind of help you stand out from a crowd. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful for you. And let us know. Get out there and peruse. Hopefully you end up meeting somebody in one of those social situations. At the very least, you're going to be seen. All right, so let's see. We've got Sage Moon, and then Dorothy, Ann, and Taliba. Okay, so Sage Moon, what's up? Sage Moon says, what's the energy looking like for me leading up to the full moon? I feel something is in the air. Capricorn, Sun, Pisces, Moon, and Rising. Saturn and Gemini. Well, I would watch that because that full moon's going to be around your Saturn. But, you know, the full moon, especially for Pisces placements in your 4th house, is going to square and oppose all kinds of stuff, especially being a Pisces rising. Pisces, where Saturn is going to be the focal point of a T-square between Mercury and Mars and Saturn. And you're going to see, Mercury's going to square Neptune in your sign, and then you're going to see the full moon's going to square Saturn in your sign. So it's going to be about what you decide to change, break down, shift, communicate about. This is going to be an interesting one for the mutable signs for sure. So let's see what's going on leading up to the full moon. It's messy, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. It's just straight up messy. If you guys saw my full moon video, I talk about how it's the same damn mutable squares. All right, so let's take a look. I need this deck. I'm gonna add it to my Amazon list. Oh hey, 2 aces, new beginnings. So we got 2 of Swords, Ace of Wands, and the Ace of Cups. So to be honest with you, to me this is a lot of like, I mean crossroads energy. 2 of Swords, right? It's like, do I do this or do I do that? It can represent the square between changes that need to happen at home and changes that need to happen at work. You know that the full moon is going to be on the 4th and the 10th house axis. And I think the square to Saturn is, what am I allowing in, right? What am I committing to? What are my goals? What am I delaying and doing? And then I also think that the squares to Neptune is whether or not you're seeing things clearly or whether or not people are perceiving you the way that you want to be perceived. Now, it can mean that it's coming down quite literally to your actions, your desire, your creative projects. I think that's very much Sagittarius, to be honest with you. I think of like the 10th house and how you have so many planets going through there right now, and it's about like showing up and like being the showman and like making everything happen with Mercury and Mars and the Sun in the 10th house here pretty soon. Ace of Wands is about new creative endeavors. It's about inspiration. It's about movement, action, and it's about making things happen. So I would really focus on that new moon in Sag. From what I remember, I think the new moon in Sag is around 20 degrees. Also going to square Neptune, right? It's just like all Sagittarius season. It's Mr. Toad's wild ride. But the nice thing is that this can be an indication that inspiration and also opportunity for action and desire and passion is definitely showing up. And then we've got the Ace of Cups, which is relationship opportunity, happiness. It can be talking about emotional fulfillment and, getting what you need when it comes to support from other people. I think about how these squares that are going to be taking place are really about how you're wanting to present yourself when it comes to, your public reputation. Relationships for you also is Mercury. So one thing you're going to see is that Mercury, as it goes through your 10th house, it's going to retrograde. So there's going to be some potential shift revolving around the way that people see you professionally or in your personal life. It is possible that you may decide to take the next steps in a relationship, or you meet somebody and then you're suddenly identifying differently in the world and you're telling people you're in a relationship. It can also mean that you're opening up to really paying attention to your emotions and how they're helping direct some of the creative projects that you're working on. But most people will tell you when you have 2 aces, it's basically saying that there's 2 very big changes that are coming at the same time. And it's funny that the 2 of Swords kind of says you feel like you have to pick one or the other, but these cards are actually saying no, it's not about picking one or the other. It's about kind of hitting restart in 2 separate areas of your life. And that is going to be very much represented with the full moon, where really it doesn't mean that you have to choose between your private life and your public life. It's very possible for you to have both. It's just about reimagining what that looks like and being flexible and in being able to, find fulfillment in both of these areas. Definitely work with fire and water. It can mean that this is a really positive time to like brew up a bath and set your intentions, or maybe you're lighting a candle and you're writing out your intentions and you're burning them. Maybe this means that you're just working more on paying attention to your emotions and your intuition and creating and going in the directions that you're feeling that you need to go in, especially if you're feeling a little blind right now. You know, Two of Swords can be like not knowing what direction to go in or where to start. And this can be basically saying, paying attention to your emotions. They're going to kind of show you and teach you what you need to be investing your time in and where you need to be initiating new things. Okay? Gotta love those mutable squares. They can be a doozy. Good luck. We've got Dorothy, Taliba, Laura, Myra, and Leah. Thank you guys so much for your patience this evening. I appreciate it. If you guys have not already, make sure you give me a thumbs up, like the stream, and make sure you're subscribed. Please subscribe so that way you can stay up to date on my videos. Dorothy says, what can the tarot tell me about negotiating with my ex that may not be obvious right now? I know, very Scorpio. What's up, Dorothy? Hey, Candace, I'm a Gemini rising, Sun, Pisces moon. Gemini rising, Aries sun, Pisces moon. Your ex is a Virgo rising, Libra sun, Sag moon. Well, all right, so you're going to have that Mercury retrograde in your 7th, Dorothy. And as an Aries sun, you're kind of in charge, you know, because you're having those eclipses near your sun. So it's more about what's going on with you. And definitely the Libra suns are feeling the effects of it because they're seeing partners that are a little bit more determined. And they're feeling those South Node eclipses. It's impacting them. They're Virgo rising, so they have Saturn in the 7th. And your sun is in the 8th. In their 8th. So you can like peer into their soul, you know? All right. So let's see. Dorothy wants to know what the tarot can tell her about negotiating with the ex. Here we go. Okay, this is wild. Okay, this is what, 4 times now? 5 times? Temperance, 8 of Cups. There's been several spreads where it's been Temperance, 8 of Cups. I think the long and short of it, before we even get into this, is that a lot of people are going back and forth right now whether or not they're going to cut something loose. They're like, do I walk away? Do I cut it loose? Do I do that? Is now the right time? I feel like a lot of people have been playing that game all summer long with the Venus retrograde. Then Venus opposed Saturn. Then we had the eclipses. And a lot of people are like holding on by a string, being like, is it time to go yet? And so Temperance might be helping temper situations, making it easier for you to break off or break away. But those two keep coming up. It's wild. Okay, so we have Page of Wands, Temperance, 8 of Cups. Okay, so some of these things you may already know. But the Page of Wands makes me feel like this is a situation where you're dealing with somebody who is either reactionary or they're going to be a little petty. Okay, pages are children. It can mean that this is also a situation where you've got somebody who is going to be antagonistic, reactionary, heated, right? This is like a little kid with like a baseball bat. That's how it works. Or a little kid running around with like a lit candlestick, right? That doesn't really sound very safe. It sounds like that could potentially create some problems. So when pages come up in regards to relations with adults, I'm like, look, this person isn't going to act very mature. It can mean that there is some frustration, some resentment, or just a need for them to still kind of cool off. I think about a Virgo rising going through these eclipses, and there's South Node eclipses in the 2nd house, North Node eclipses in the 8th, which means there's eclipses going on that quite literally impact them physically in some capacity. These are money houses. So, going through a breakup with the South Node in the 2nd house, a Virgo rising could be like, well, look at what you're taking from me, whether it's things or it's time or it's resources or just you walking away and ending the relationship or taking space. They could have a difficult time actually letting somebody go. South Node of Libra in the 2nd house is letting go of possession of a partner. So Temperance is basically saying like there is time for both of you guys to kind of chill a little bit, to work through this. I don't really think it's necessarily you. So, you know, I think the Temperance card is really kind of saying both parties need to kind of find their center balance before you guys are able to kind of connect. It's also about fairness, right? I mean, the Eight of Cups is the final card. So I noticed that you're saying, what do you need to tell me about negotiating with my ex? Well, I think you already know. This doesn't look like a reconciliation situation. I'm not getting that feeling. I do feel like the Eight of Cups is about being like, I'm walking away. It may mean that you're trying to negotiate and sit down and talk to him. And, you know, the answer that you get is, I'm done. You know, we're done here. You know, let's just complete this. Let's just wrap this up. Let's just finalize this and be done. Saturn is now direct in the 7th house. So for a Virgo rising chart, I'm not surprised because unfortunately this is happening for a lot of Virgo risings. But when I think about your astrology, I also think that so much of this is about you kind of tapping in and realizing like, I don't have to sit around and deal with this. Gemini risings right now are kind of like looking at the franticness and the back and forth that are going on with partners. You're going to see this throughout the Mercury retrograde. Eclipses in your 11th house are about really connecting you to a group of people and having some solid friends. So I'm not going to say you're not dealing well with some kind of shift. I think that you are. I think this is about you accepting that it's over and maybe this realization because you're not backtracking on what you have said and what you've agreed to. They're going to realize it's really done and then they're going to give up a fight of some sort. The confirmation card that I got is the World card. Okay, so here's the card. That was the confirmation card. So which is kind of cool, right? Because this is about finally completing a cycle, being done, releasing it, letting go, walking away, lesson learned. So it does mean that whatever goes on, if you give him a little bit more time, things are going to cool off and he's going to be easier to deal with. But ultimately there's going to be this realization, this understanding that's like, it really is done this time. And now you guys have to complete it. So give them a little bit of time to process that. Don't expect this person to be super mature right now. I do feel like the Eight of Cups is when they realize either that you're not coming back to kind of smooth this over, or when they realize that it's like actually done, then it's going to help the process kind of proceed forward. Okay. And I think just your lack of either communication or your lack of trying to get back together or make it work or fix something or be too understanding or too pleasing, that's going to be like, okay, that's the confirmation for them. That's like, oh, it's different this time. You're welcome. You are very welcome. And yeah, those eclipses, I mean, I'm not picking sides. Eclipses in the South Node in Libra and the North Node in Aries, this is about some Virgo risings having to pay up, having to separate resources, having to pay alimony, or having to, you know, give things back or support partners, or, you know, unfortunately that's kind of the way that is working out. All right. Let's see. So we've got, oh, I already got Anne. Okay. All right. Well, now I'm seeing your self delayed. Sorry guys, these squares to Saturn, stuff's coming in delayed. So I got Anne's second message, but I got you. All right. So we've got Taliba, Laura, Myra, and then Leah. Okay, so Miss Taliba says, I upgraded my car last week, and now I'm wondering what the cards say about refinancing. Libra rising, Virgo sun, Cancer moon, Libra stellium, aka having issues making decisions. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to tell you, this is so funny. This is quite literally the astrology. Okay, so you're going to have Mercury turn retrograde in your 3rd house of vehicles. This will be in mid-December. When it does that, it's going to be about reevaluating something in regards to a vehicle. Now, Mercury rules your 12th house, which is about, it can be about some banking institutions. That's more about transactions. And you're going to see Mercury, when it starts its retrograde, actually begin in Capricorn. And it's going to trine Jupiter in your 8th house. So that is an opportunity for refinancing. So the Jupiter, Mercury trines are really good. Here's the thing that I would say. The retrograde gets kind of tricky because it's going to retrograde and it's going to come into conjunction with Mars, which means it's going to be about terminating one policy and starting a new, and it's going to square Neptune. So the one thing that you do not want is a lapse in any capacity with car insurance. You do not want to have any issues in regards to showing proof, to whatever the new bank might be, that it's got everything that it needs. Like, you need to make sure you have adequate documentation and paperwork, because I promise you, if you don't, or if you don't do this within, the appropriate timing, you're going to have some issues. The other thing I would say is that, Jupiter is in your 8th house. And so this does talk about having access to other people's money, banking, right? Taurus, Jupiter rules your 3rd. I do feel like it is possible for you to find something that's possibly going to be a little bit more affordable. But let's see what the cards say. The cards say 10 of Pentacles. So yes, if I had $1 for every person in the last 6 months that bought a brand new car and then they're like, I'm going to refinance, I would not be doing readings live on the internet right now. Interest rates are going to continue to be a thing as long as Jupiter is in Taurus. So that's going to continue. So if you're having a policy end and a new one, maybe make sure that they overlap a little bit, even if you're like, okay, mine's not going to end for a couple days and I'm going to start it early, just so you don't have any issues with the documents and the banking, and make sure you send the new stuff over. 10 of Pentacles makes me feel like, yeah, you can find something that's going to be better for you financially, but it also makes me feel like in the long run, it's about looking at the kind of, looking at the terms and the timing, right? So you might look at it and go, I can pay, longer with smaller payments, but I'm going to pay more interest. Or do I want to take a shorter, long, term, and I'm going to pay a little bit more, but I'm going to shave more of the interest off. Because this talks about like long-term kind of financial planning. Something else that I would consider is, you could also maybe consider taking a longer term, for a loan, and you can be paying it back faster. Not a lot of people tell you if you're paying within the cycle, where you're paying 2 payments within that cycle, it's gonna bump your credit up. So it's almost better, rather than putting yourself in a position where you have to pay that really expensive payment, you could take a longer term. The months that you have the extra money, pay more so you can pay it off faster, so you can get ahead with your financial goals, right? So that might be the way to go, to be honest with you. I think that might be the best option. But yes, I do see that being possible. And I've said this already, but I'll say it one more time. So the Mercury trines, you're going to see that around January 18th, 2024. You're going to see that around December 18th as well. And you're going to see Mercury that's going to trine Jupiter around December 8th. So those days are better days to make the switch, because you're probably going to get a better deal, because it's going to trine Jupiter in your 8th house of banking and loans. Okay, so I hope that is helpful. We've got Laura, Myra, and then Leah. Okay, so we got 2 questions from Laura. 1, 2. Okay, cool. So Laura says, will my boyfriend and me, I think you said meant ask. Will my boyfriend ask me to marry him, and how does our relationship look? Is he good for me? We've been together for 4 years. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see. Good luck. All right, so this is for Laura and her boyfriend. They've been together for a couple years. Are they going to get married? How does this relationship look? Okay, so we got the 9 of Cups, the 5 of Wands, and the King of Swords. Oh, confirmed by the Temperance card. It's just like a joke at this point. Those of you guys who have seen some of these live shows, you'll see some of the cards come up again and again and again. So let's talk about Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups is the wish card. Okay, so when I get a card like this that comes up, somebody's asking me a question. Am I going to get what I want? Are we going to, get married? We're going to get the job. Nine of Cups is like the green light. You're going to get what you want. It's going to happen. Wish fulfillment card. So I definitely feel like that being a part of the spread is positive, because it's saying like, it almost seems like this has been a part of the game plan all along, or this is something that you guys have been planning all along, or the direction that you were going to go in. Right now you have the Five of Wands, which makes me feel like you're like, okay, I know this is the plan. Maybe we're experiencing some things where there's some challenges. We've got some hurdles. Obviously Five of Wands, you see a bunch of people throwing wands at each other, right? Like they're not all listening to each other or getting on so well. So this can be about hitting a period where you guys are bumping heads a little bit or not always seeing eye to eye. This is a minor arcana card though. And what's interesting is this talks about the friction or the hurdles that you need to go through before you have the victory, right? Six of Wands would be the victory card. So this is saying like right now, maybe you guys are having an experience where you're like, okay, well, is this a situation where, is it going to be like this forever? This is what being married is going to be like. And so you're starting to kind of see how you guys overcome obstacles and work through challenges together. And in particular, I think the King of Swords does make me feel like this is a relationship with somebody who says what they mean and they mean what they say. So this can be about being in a relationship with an air sign, so Geminis, Libras, Aquarius type of energies. And even if they're not one of those signs, it's somebody who's like a straight shooter and they're really honest and they're like between the eyes. So when I look at the, Nine of Cups, the Five of Wands, and the King of Swords, it's like, I could see there being some kind of exchanges and some tiffs being like, well, we said we were going to get married. And he's like, I told you we're going to do it. Don't worry. It's just, we got some stuff we got to figure out. We got to work through. We got to kind of, get together before we can get to that goal. So with the Nine of Cups being in the past position, I do feel like that is the plan. That is the direction where things are going. Maybe you feel like there's been some obstacles or challenges in the relationship leading to this point, but I do feel like in terms of planning and the general overall thought process and like what this person is intending for the end goal with the relationship, I do think is about commitment. But you may also have an individual here who's like, still maybe facing some challenges revolving the idea of like commitment in a sense of being married, which is kind of silly because you guys live together, you've been together for 4.5 years. Some people say marriage is a piece of paper. Other people are like, no, it changes everything. I look at this and I think maybe it's about wrapping his mind around the idea of like actually doing it, and maybe not really realizing that he already is kind of in that dynamic. And so I would just say with the Five of Wands being in the current position and Temperance being the confirmation, it's like you don't need to push it. It does seem like that's going to happen. King of Swords is somebody who wants to be the one to ask and make the decision, and be given the freedom basically to be able to ask you without feeling like it's something that's being pushed. Okay, but that does look like that's the plan. And then your second question was, what do I have to do for my daughter to talk to me? She's a young adult and ignores me. When will I see her? She does not return my texts or my calls. All right, let's take a look. Let's see. So what do we need to know about Laura's daughter? What needs to happen for these two to be able to better connect? In this order: Queen of Wands, Six of Swords, Ace of Cups. So I don't know what sign you are. I wonder if you're a fire sign, or if you maybe have like Scorpio rising because you have Saturn in your fifth, or if you've got some squares going on with your fifth house lord. Queen of Wands, I don't think we've seen any of the other queens yet tonight, but Queen of Wands does talk about somebody who is passionate, she's fierce, she's feisty, she is wanting to be heard, she's wanting to be seen, she's all about actions and reactions. So when this card comes up, even if you're not a fire sign, you're channeling that energy. What I like about this particular placement is that you got the black cat that hangs out with the Queen of Wands. So it talks about listening to your intuition, knowing when to act and knowing when to kind of wait. It can also be about listening to that before you react to anything. You're a Libra, she's an Aries. Okay, cool. Is she your second child? I know that sounds weird, but if you're a Libra, Aries is your 7th house, so it can be about relationships or it can be about your second kid. But I think part of this is also the fact that, we're getting ready to see Pluto's going into your 5th house, whole sign, based off of your sun. And there's going to be a lot of changes in regard to relationship with a child. And if you're having eclipses in your 7th house to your sun, Aries, it can be about going back and forth with an Aries who can be being a little headstrong. When I put the Queen of Wands together with the Six of Swords, this is about more or less kind of laying your weapon down and being like, okay, instead of being super fierce and feisty, Six of Swords is like, I'm going to let this pass. I'm going to move on to calmer, territory. It's allowing this to be like a period where you give each other like a cooling off. This is a card that's also about travel or trips or going places, especially over water, traveling or visiting. So there can be a sense of like maybe, giving each other a break, or if there is an opportunity, if somebody is going to be nearby or they're traveling and they're visiting, that might bring you guys back together. Six of Swords makes me feel like it's about like a 6-week cool off and letting things kind of chill out a little bit before you try to reconnect. And it's about taking a path that is very different than what she's expecting from you. So it can mean if she's expecting you to be pushing, you're like, okay, 6 weeks on the clock. I'm going to let her know I'm here if she wants to talk, and I always want to talk to her, and then I'm going to leave her alone. And it also might be about you taking time to really use that energy and direct it towards yourself and be like, okay, people can only meet me halfway. If they don't want to talk to me, they don't want to work with me, that's on them. I'm going to be working through this on my own until they decide that they're open, and hopefully then we can communicate. What's nice is that the final card's the Ace of Cups. So it is saying that there is room for reconciliation, renewal in the relationship, there being a lot of love there. I think, for Libras, it's really challenging right now because there are lots of oppositions going on with the eclipses between your 1st and your 7th house. And there are some fierce exchanges with other people, relationships, but also with in your case, with kids. I think about how Saturn's going to go direct. It might mean that there is going to be more opening to being able to connect with children. I think that really, if you go in the opposite direction of trying to push it, you're going to allow the door to open and she'll be able to kind of come back to you and you guys can work through it. I also feel like the Six of Swords is about taking a path of least resistance and not feeling like, you need to be badgering her to get her to talk to you. Let her be, leave her alone, give her the time. And I feel like as long as you stay open and you let her know that you're taking time to work through this, and trying to reflect on maybe what you can be doing better to better the relationship and that you hope she'll join you, then you'll see, like the opportunity for renewal in the relationship to come through. Okay. Oh, that can be challenging being a Libra rising or being a Libra and having an Aries. That opposition is a fierce one. So hopefully she's open to reconnecting with you. We got Myra. Where's Myra? I saw you pop in here a minute ago. Let's see, where was that? There you go. Princess Myra, Libra. Sorry I didn't add my question, but if it's my husband and I will work things out. I'm at a crossroads with him and feel lost. Okay, so you're a Libra. Thank you. Let's take a look. Let's see what we can tell Myra about the situation with her and her partner. This is such a theme with my Libras, man. It is South Node eclipses. Having to live and let be. All right, let's take a look. Let's see what we can tell Myra about this situation, being at a crossroads with her partner. Hopefully we've got some good news for her. In this order, you got 2 major arcana cards. Look at that, the Star and the Sun, and the 4 of Cups. Confirmation is a 5 of Cups. So here's the deal, right? So you've got 2 major arcana cards. You've got the Sun, which is basically about happiness, joy, overcoming, working through something. This can also be about dealing with ego issues. This can be dealing with issues revolving around father figures or children. The sun in the past position is not a bad place to have the sun. It can mean that it's shining a light on whether or not you guys are happy, whether or not you guys are working well together, whether or not egos are getting in the way. There can be some issues revolving around who's in charge. She says he's a Leo. Okay, there you go. Or a Leo. And whether or not there's a situation where you're actually able to have a breakthrough. Because the sun is about celebration, right? You traditionally see like a kid that's, on a horse and there's a banner that's waving and it's talking about overcoming obstacles and having a breakthrough and being able to find happiness. So it is saying that that is possible here. The problem is that right now the 4 of Cups is like not finding happiness in the day-to-day, not feeling fulfilled, not showing emotions or connection in a positive way. When you see this card, generally you see somebody that's offering, cups to this guy and he's just sitting, under a tree and he's like pouting. So when 4 of Cups comes in the current position, what can be coming up is like whatever might be going on within a relationship or a partnership may not necessarily be completely connected to the partnership in itself. You could be dealing with a situation where somebody is like losing their sense of joy or happiness. Maybe they're having a difficult time appreciating what they have. Maybe it's too close to them and they can't really see that until potentially it's gone. The 4 of Cups can be about somebody struggling with emotional issues or depression. This can be about somebody who's kind of just lost an interest in anything and they feel like nothing is really fulfilling. And it can have this impact or this effect that's like affecting the relationship or affecting the home or affecting the family. There can also be this feeling of feeling detached and not getting what you're needing out of a relationship and kind of feeling like you're at a loss because no matter what you do, you're not getting that feedback. The final card is the Star card. And so I feel like the Star card does talk about healing, reunion, coming back together, being able to merge together, being able to become a unit again, working together as a team. But it's interesting because the sun represents Leo, but the star represents Aquarius. So I know that you're a Libra, but if he's a Leo, Aquarius represents the partnership. So it can be talking about sitting down and basically being like, I hear where you're coming from. You've got your issues with the marriage or the relationship or what have you, but have you stopped to consider me? I understand you're having issues or you're stuck or you're unhappy, but what about how it's impacting me? And there is like a sense of kind of leveling and being like, look, it takes 2 to tango. Maybe part of what's going on here is that one or both partners aren't really finding their own personal happiness and not doing the work that they need to do. And it's kind of, developing and kind of coming into the marriage. The Star card does talk about healers, healing, togetherness, friends, rebuilding that foundation. So it can be about moving away from feeling like you need to force the romantic side of the relationship. And really what you're prioritizing and focusing on is rebuilding the friendship, rebuilding the trust, doing things together where you're feeling like you're a team and you're able to kind of, put things back together. It is hope for renewal, okay? So the Star card in the final position is really positive. It does seem to indicate that, yeah, you might be hitting a bit of a bump right now, but there is a need for somebody in the relationship to sit up, recognize, and realize that they're a participating member. They can't just complain or check out of the marriage. If it's not working, they need to recognize that and like do their due diligence to work on it, or at least both parties need to be willing to be vocal and kind of discuss what is and isn't working so you guys can get back to kind of at least functioning as a team and then go from there and see if you guys can rebuild the romantic side of things. 5 of Cups is coming up where it does make me feel like there's some hurt feelings. There's some stuff that's been said or some things that have happened that is difficult to move on from. So, when you have 4 of Cups, you're already kind of in a funk. When you have 5 of Cups, I always tell people, do not stay there. Do not get stuck there because there can be a sense of getting so stuck on what's gone wrong or what's happened in the past that you're not able to move forward. And you're feeling like you're in a situation where you're like, that too much has happened. I can't move on. So if you guys don't do the healing work now, if you guys don't start working through this now, it's almost like you're going to dig yourself a little bit deeper in this relationship hole, and you're going to find that it's harder to get out of it, because there can be a sense of having a difficult time with forgiveness, or there can be some resentment. So now is the time to start tackling some of these issues. And both parties need to be checked in. Somebody cannot be checked out being like, I don't care what you do, it doesn't matter, because that's leaving the other person stranded and unable to, be able to do the work. So it's positive and optimistic for being able to heal things, but you gotta be with it like now. And I think part of it might be that he's a Leo. Pluto going into Aquarius for a lot of Leos is like huge shifts for relationships, and it's going to spend a mass majority of 2024 in that sign. Sending you all the best for that, Myra, and working on being able to move past what's happened in the past. We've got Leah. Leah is in the house. She is the last woman standing. She says, I'm a Cancer rising, Cap, Sun, and Moon here. I want to know what is going on with my love life. Anything else Spirit would like to bring up for work or anything outside? Thanks. Spoken like a true Capricorn. What is going on with my love life? But you can tell me about work too. Thank you guys for all of your patience. I appreciate it. If you have not already, please make sure you click the thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Like the stream. Give me a heart in the chat. And make sure you're subscribed. All right, Leah, let's see what's going on with your love life. I have a good feeling about this spread. The World card, the Ace of Wands, and the Four of Wands. Well, I feel like a lot of this is about being like, okay, cycles have completed, things have wrapped up, things have ended. Maybe this is about Pluto getting ready to leave Capricorn. Even if Pluto's still in your Placidus 7th house, Pluto shifting into Aquarius is going to be like finally wrapping up what has been a very long period of doing a lot of karmic work, working through pain, transformation, change in relationships. And so the World card coming up, I feel like, is like saying, now you get to get all of the goodies from all the lessons that you've learned. I also feel like this is going to be about you finally learning from some of these lessons, letting the past be in the past, letting things cycle out. The World card is both like the last and the first card, really, when you think about it, because then the cycle restarts, and then we go right back to the Fool. So I think the World is kind of saying, okay, I've learned my lessons. I'm ready to move on. What's the next step in relationships? And I think about how, Saturn is, currently hanging out in your 9th house. So it can mean that maybe there can be love or opportunities with people at a distance. It means that there could be love abroad. There could be love and connections to people who, are traveling or in other places. So it is possible now that Saturn's also direct, especially, from December into about March of next year, you're going to see something that is going to start to kind of move forward. And a lot of it's going to be about the way that you look at what you've been through and been like, I ain't going back there. Ace of Wands, new beginnings, feeling charged, creative, open-minded, optimistic. This is also about passion and sexuality. It's not like, oh, I want this, like really sweet, sappy, like connection. Like the Ace of Wands is like, I want something that's going to make me feel charged and excited and alive. I want something that's going to, move very quickly. It can mean that, some of the shifts that are going on for you right now are about just getting active, being more creative, traveling more, taking more chances, maybe putting yourself out there. And, fire is kind of like a me first mentality. So I don't think you're necessarily stepping out trying to find love in a sense where you're like, oh, I'm trying to find someone I can take care of. No, it's like, I'm trying to find someone who can keep up with me. And so when you approach relationships in that sense, I think that you're going to see a pretty significant shift in how these relationships play out. I feel like it's got to be something that's inspiring. It's also got to be something that's worth you giving up some of your freedom or your free time. You know, Cancer risings right now are full steam ahead with their career because they got eclipses in the 10th house, the North Node's in the 10th house. You got planets moving into the 6th house. So it's like all about work, routine, and like doing what's best for you and really running a pretty tight ship, to be honest with you. So whoever comes in or whatever comes in has to be worthy of, you know, getting you to break away from your routine or getting you to be willing to kind of sacrifice some of your free time to partake with another person. Four of Wands. So, you know, this is a card of meetings, togetherness, you know, parties, groups, collaborations, excitement, socializing. I do feel like this is about a chance connection and maybe like meeting somebody that you have a real spark with. But it might be somebody that you're meeting while they're traveling or, you know, they're like, oh, you know, I'm in town for a bit and then I'm leaving. Or maybe you meet them through some kind of social exchange and then you find out like, okay, it's a temporary thing. Could it mean that there's a fling? Maybe. It can. Sometimes the Four of Wands with the Ace of Wands is you go out, you end up going and getting a drink, seeing a show, you meet somebody and you're like, whoa, you know, I met somebody out of the blue that I didn't see coming. And it's about enjoying the moment, being in the moment, right? Because the next card that comes up is the Five of Wands, and that's about not feeling like you have to push something or make something happen now. I think about like, you know, Pluto's leaving, but you're going to have a Mercury retrograde that's going to start in your 7th. So there can be a sense of you being like, you could meet somebody and if things, you know, go too quickly or, you know, it's quickly going in the direction of a relationship and you're not sure if you want that or they don't know if they want that, make a mental note. Mid-December, as Mercury turns retrograde, there can be miscommunications or misunderstandings with other people. So for me, it's like saying it's about experiencing things, enjoying yourself, having a good time. If what you're looking for is like something that's going to stick, you're going to want to see more when there's planets coming into conjunction with Saturn, or maybe when Venus is coming into conjunction with Saturn. Maybe when you're having, you know, after the new moon in Capricorn, you're going to see something that's going to kind of stick a little bit more. But right now, it's like, let's keep things light. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's have some fun, especially because I think you've already gone through the lessons, and maybe this card is reminding you that, you know, you're more aware of the red flags now, and you're not necessarily going to jump into something head first very quickly if it potentially could, you know, read as a bit of a threat or a challenging time. Get out, socialize, meet people. And I would say distance, don't let distance be a thing, because Saturn's going to be in your 9th house for the next couple of years. So you're either going to meet somebody who's going to be traveling, you'll meet them while you're traveling, you'll meet them while you're doing courses or you're learning something. And it's going to be something that can work while there is a bit of a distance. So location really doesn't matter, okay? You know, bars, shows, clubs, you know, any kind of parties, gatherings. These are things that you want to be going to. And likely what you'll find is that you'll be doing things more spur of the moment. You're just going to be like, okay, I got time for this. I'm going to go and do this. Or there's this thing coming up tonight. I'm going to go out and take a chance and do something different. It's about being spontaneous. And so I think that's really what I would kind of be doing for the better part of like the next month or so. And after the retrograde, so you'll see, you know, closer to the second half of January into like March, better timing kind of territory, you know. And you're having the Cazimi right now in your 5th house. So something's being seeded where you have the opportunity to be initiating new projects or new romantic relationships. You're not really going to start to see it kind of unfold until closer to spring of next year. But ironically, it'll unfold right around the time Jupiter and Uranus are hanging out in your 11th. So socializing, going out and meeting people, that seems to be the name of the game. As long as you're having fun, you're more likely to make friends and also meet new partners. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Let's see. So I saw Zika. Is Jessica coming up soon? Let's see. Well, I think we did Jessica already. Jessica Z. Yeah, you'll have to go and do the playback. It's about you. Is that about you and Daniel? I'm going to assume. But yeah, it's right after Jamie and right before Victoria. So Jessica Z, we did your reading, don't worry. You're welcome, Leah. I hope that's helpful. And I think that's it, you guys. I'm pretty sure that's everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on a Friday and spending part of your weekend here with me. It was awesome getting to hang out with you guys. I will be here next week. We're going to be doing astrology, so you can catch me here at 5 o'clock p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing it even given after the holiday. Don't forget to subscribe, and also make sure that you go and check out my website because of all the stuff that we're going to be having coming out this week. Sunday's going to be astro weather. We're going to talk all about Mars going into Sagittarius and all the craziness that's going to be coming with some of these Saturn squares in this next week. So make sure you tune in on Sunday. And for the rest of you guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see all of you back here really soon. Take care.